La edad es solo un número es una producción de la Alianza Hispana, con el generoso patrocinio de Next 50 Initiative, a quienes agradecemos profundamente por creer en esta visión de construir una sociedad más justa, inclusiva y sin prejuicios de edad. Bienvenido a La Edad es solo un número. Hola a todos y a todas, mil gracias por acompañarnos en un nuevo episodio de este espacio titulado La Edad es solo un número. Estoy muy feliz y contento de tener una nueva invitada el día de hoy. Y nada, quisiera pedirles por favor, sigan compartiendo estos videos con amigos, familiares y con toda la comunidad que también habla español o inglés, porque esos videos los tenemos subtitulados ya sea en español cuando se habla en inglés o en inglés cuando hablamos solo en español. Pero este es un espacio en el cual el día de hoy vamos a tener esta entrevista en inglés. So, welcome everyone to another episode de La Edad es solo un número. This space is made in order to challenge these ideas that we have, in order to change our mind and also open our relationships, trying to find this common ground with the people older than us, maybe sometimes. So today's episode is deeply important for me because aging is not just about living longer, but it's also living with dignity, with connection, with humanity and respect. So today we have Corinne. Corinne, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about you. Who are Corinne?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here with you. Yeah, my name is Corinne. I work for the City of Boston's Age Strong Commission, where I lead the Dementia-Friendly initiative. My life is deeply rooted in working with folks that have dementia, but in my free time, I also like to read and volunteer, and I have a cat, and I
me too.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, I recently got married, and yeah, that's a quick summary.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So, in your own experience, you start talking about you are working in this area of the city that help people with dementia.
Yes.
So, what is the definition of dementia? Sometimes we heard this word and maybe we feel afraid, but what is the definition, or what our community need to know about this topic?
Yeah. The best way that I can define dementia is that it's an umbrella term for many different types of diagnosis, all of which impact the brain. And so with dementia being the overarching term, there's specific diagnosis or specific kinds of dementia like Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body disease, vascular dementia, etc. But all of these diagnoses impact the brain in ways that challenge our ability to communicate, maybe our behaviors, and our critical thinking skills. So everything that falls under the term dementia is a brain disease that's going to impact these parts of our ability.
Okay, and according with this definition, what are some of maybe the biggest misconceptions that people have about dementia?
Yeah, so I would say number one is that people think that it's entirely genetic, which is actually not true. Most of the types of dementia diagnosis, most of them actually are not primarily genetic. They have different risk factors, including just increased age. It depends on your sex, if you're male or female. It depends on your background, whether you're Black American, Latino American, White American, and then other risk factors that are huge, which is like diet and exercise and heart conditions. All of these factors go into whether or not someone's at risk of developing dementia. It's not just genetic.
And not just genetic, but also not just aging.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
because
exactly.
Sometimes we can think, because I am older, maybe it's the reason, but or even the younger generation that had the opportunity to listen to this podcast, maybe needs to know this, because sometimes we don't pay attention what are our food, no?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think
Our
it's
diet.
super important to know that just because we get older does not mean we're going to develop dementia. It's not a normal part of aging. So people do develop it. 1 in 9 Americans will be diagnosed with dementia, but I also think it's significant to note that like 40 to 50% of dementia cases can be prevented or delayed through things like eating healthy and reducing our stress and getting enough sleep. And I think, yes, it's a scary disease, but knowing that we can do things as we're younger, or even if we're up there in age, like we're turning 65, so we're now considered old, it's still not too late to change these lifestyle factors to make us healthier and prevent or delay a dementia diagnosis.
Yeah, no, it's true. This is gonna be the, I think, the episode number 15.
Wow.
So another episode we had the opportunity to talk with many people that are older than 75, and some of them are running half marathons or dancing or creating or poems, many other activities.
It's amazing.
So it's true what are you saying, but what people can expect about your work or this office in the Boston, in the city of Boston?
Yeah, I mean, I have an interesting position where, yes, I help folks navigate a dementia diagnosis, but I'm also out there educating about brain health, trying to encourage folks to pay attention to their brain health. And the Dementia-Friendly initiative in and of itself is a World Health Organization initiative that a community, any size community, can pledge to become dementia friendly. And this means that we have 8 domains that we work out of for the city of Boston to just try to make the city a more friendly, inclusive, respectful, welcoming place for people who live with dementia and their care partners. And so the 8 domains focus on things like housing and transportation, but it also focuses on social inclusion and communication and outdoor spaces and health centers and just all of these aspects of daily life that we want people who are in our community to stay in our community. And so we just have to maybe focus on changing some aspects of these domains so that we can make sure that if someone that's living with dementia wants to stay at home and live safe and happy at home, they can.
Could you give us an example about this friendly community or dementia-friendly community that maybe you have the opportunity to see on a daily basis?
Sure. So one major thing that I provide, I guess, in the community, I can't even say I provide it, I just host it, is memory cafes. And memory cafes are welcoming, inclusive spaces for folks that are living with memory changes or challenges, and their care partners to come together in this space. And it's to create the community of finding social inclusion and also just empathizing with other people that are in the same situation. But it's also a space where we we connect, but we also engage in meaningful activity. And part of what is so special about the Memory Cafe is when people are engaging in this meaningful activity, and I know people do it at La Alianza all the time, it's really coming from a place where it shows what's still left rather than what's been lost from the person that's struggling with the disease. And when we focus on what is still left or what's still available in terms of the person that has dementia, it's just such heartwarming and meaningful environment. And when we focus in this lens rather than a lens of loss, it does allow that person to feel dignified, to feel respected, to feel like they're still able to participate in their own daily life as well as the daily life of the community. And so I feel like having these memory cafes around the city has really empowered some people to be able to stay at home or to have a space where they can come in this way and then feel supported once they leave this space as well.
This sounds amazing, but I'm trying to imagine the concept about the memory cafe. So are there like a specific cafes for that, or there are activities inside of the different cafes? How does it work?
Yeah, I host it as like one event, and I always host
events.
it in one of the Boston Public Library branches.
Okay.
I choose that because the libraries are already community spaces, they're free, they provide so much to our community, and so the Memory Cafe kind of fits in with their mission, and the library concept fits in with the Memory Cafe mission, and I host them. I have one at the Codman Square branch in Dorchester, I have one in East Boston, and Jamaica Plain, and the South Boston, North End, and Roxbury. Those are the locations that I'm working with currently, but I'm not the only one that runs memory cafes. There's a great memory cafe through Greater Boston Chinese Golden Age Center, and I know Julieta from La Alianza had come to visit us at the Codman Square Memory Cafe to then start a memory cafe here. So the concept in and of itself is not mine. I just host them throughout the community as part of being a dementia-friendly city, but I think that the spaces that people create through memory cafes are so sacred.
Oh, yeah. No, that sounds amazing. I have the opportunity to talk with many people, older adults, about loneliness, about this need of continue making friends and building community. So, if maybe if I am an owner of a business in the Latino community or either way. Is there opportunity for me to bring my own business or space for these activities?
I don't see why not. I mean, I think all it takes is someone that's passionate about the subject in order to host it. I also can help someone through the process of setting up their own memory cafe. I have some education I do for the public, and I also can help, collaborate on the activities that go on. It's just a matter of if someone has the space and the passion, they can host one. And I think, businesses too, now that you mention it, we do have another program that's part of our Age and Dementia-Friendly initiative, which is a business program. And so local business owners can go through our Age and Dementia-Friendly business certification, where it's a short application and then a walkthrough and a 1 hour educational portion. And then we can have them become an Age and Dementia-Friendly business, put them on our map, promote their services, tell folks that they've been through this Age and Dementia-Friendly training, and a lot of times that makes older adults feel more connected, like you said. It makes older adults feel more confident and comfortable going into that place of business, knowing that they've had this environment shift and this training about how to communicate with older adults. And so that's another opportunity for local business owners.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that information, because sometimes we have the heart or the desire to help our communities, mostly our abuelos or the elder population, and maybe we don't know how, or maybe we don't know that the City of Boston already have programs, ideas, certifications. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's like a very professional way to help, but Alberto, I have to say, even just saying hi and asking someone how their day is going, especially an older person, really combats that loneliness that you were talking about. And so there are ways that people can get more involved, but I think even just a day where someone gets to interact and just tell someone how they're doing that day definitely helps with the social isolation.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you. And when you hear this idea about la edad es solo un número, or that the age is just a number, what is the meaning of that phrase for you in this moment of your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I used to use this phrase, I love it. I used to use it as my motto. I think there are so many great mottos out there. It's not, primary in my head now, but, I'm 32 and I'm not shy about my age. And I think that that's part of it. I think the age is just a number means that that's what it is. It's a number. And so I can and should be proud of the age that I am. I can and should respect the age that everyone else is, but if they, if the age attached, like I can tell you my Nana was 93, and that age she did
93?
not identify. Yes, she was 93. She did not
Okay.
identify with that age. She was ready and willing to tell you she was 80, and she, no one could tell the difference. And so I really do think it's just a label that we have that is used to misjudge people, and it doesn't need to be. It really doesn't.
And continue talking about this idea in your own experience. What does society get wrong about aging, according to your experience, your daily work and life?
Yeah, I think we have a very negative view of aging, and that it means that the older we get, the more that we lose in terms of our ability. And while there are natural changes associated with aging that we can talk about, like hearing losses, there's some natural hearing loss that occurs, there's some natural mobility changes that occur, but ultimately, like, aging does not mean useless. And in fact, I feel like a lot of people that are older find that to be the best time of their life, and they find that to be the most meaningful. It's when they feel the most impactful. And so I think it just depends on the lens that we put on it. And I think as a culture, we put too much of a negative lens on it. And for me, it's like the alternative to aging, is not being here. And so I think I stay motivated by saying, if I'm getting older, it only means good things.
And talking about for example, your generation, people with in their 30s or 20s, do you think that the younger generation are really preparing themselves for aging? Do you think that is something normal or maybe not?
That's a good question. I think we have more insight into how important things like our brain health and our heart health are. But I think about this all the time because we don't grow up learning about how to take care of older people. Like, it's pretty much like the statistics now show that most people are a care partner in some way to someone in their life. And that's not a natural thing for human beings to grow up and then be in their 20s and know how to take care of an older person. So most of the time as a society, we're learning as we go. And I think that makes sense, but I also think it's contributing to the crisis that we have of unpaid caregivers and not enough geriatricians and not enough home care aides, because people aren't impacted by it until they're really impacted by it. And so it really has created a crisis. We don't know how to manage it in our culture or society, and how to, how workplaces can support care partners, because pretty much everyone in the workforce is a care partner in some capacity. And so it's just a slippery slide where, young people are being forced into paying attention. And that's maybe not a bad thing. It is a crisis, but it's maybe not a bad thing for us younger people to pay attention to what's happening to our older loved ones, so that we can prepare and have a better quality of life too.
Talking about preparation, how has this work challenged you personally, in your own person, your life? What are the challenges that you have found?
I like to say that dementia is a beautiful thing. It's a really tough disease. It's tragic, it's hard, it's challenging for the person going through it, it's challenging for the people that love them, but I also think it has its beauty to it, which is that for the most part, people that are experiencing memory decline are in the moment. And the last thing to go when someone does have dementia is like the emotion center, like our amygdala, which is way back in here in our head, is the last thing to be impacted by the disease. And so that person still has a lot of feeling. And I think, working in this population, I take that with me, that the present moment is super important. There are things that I can do for myself today that make me feel better and are healthier choices. And yeah, I think, I don't know that I make significant changes to my day-to-day because I work with people with dementia, but it's definitely impacted my life in a deep way, and for the better. I truly love it.
Yeah. No, thank you. I love what you said about the present moment, because sometimes we don't appreciate this time, this moment. Maybe we are playing with our children or having, spending time with our friends or family, and at the same time we are in the our cell phones or distracted a lot.
Yeah.
And this disease, as you mentioned, the dementia, maybe I'm going to suffer or not, I don't know, but it's better to be conscious about this is a reality with many people right now are living. So thinking about this, what should be your recommendation for the people that have in their own home families are taking care of people with dementia? Because I think this is the, I don't know, the saddest part, no? That you love someone and this person is losing something. And yeah, what is your word recommendation or
Yeah, I mean, I think
for
it's
them?
the first thing is that it's super important to take care of ourselves. Like I said earlier, like we're not born into knowing how to care for someone else. And so we certainly have to take care of ourselves first, because the stress and the worry and the burden and all of that impacts our health as well. And so take care of ourselves, and it's better than for the person that you're caring for too, but then also to know that there are resources out there, there is help available, and it looks different for everyone because everyone is impacted differently by the disease, which is one of the hardest things about it, is so individualistic. Someone that needs to, someone that has dementia in this neighborhood might need to stop driving, which is super impactful, while someone else maybe can get around with a GPS. And so it impacts everyone so differently. But regardless of what the current situation is, this is how I like to help people, is like, what can I do for you in this moment? What would be the most helpful thing for me to mediate in this moment? And then we'll go from there. So whether it is like getting a ride or going to the doctor or taking meds or wandering or behaviors, whatever it is, fix the problem that's happening currently, and then move forward. And the resources are out there for that.
Do you have maybe some ideas about the main resources that people in this moment need to know, or maybe a website, or where can I find these resources?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, they kind of are all over the place. So something that I like to do is have a conversation with the person first. So anyone can reach out to me. I can give you my contact information, but folks can find me through the Age Strong Commission, City of Boston. Is a great place to start. I also have colleagues who have those resources. We have a constituent services team. So the constituent services team helps folks in each neighborhood connect to resources in their own neighborhood. And then more broadly, in Boston, we have Alzheimer's disease research centers that provide a lot of education and support. There's support groups that are available. There's the national level Alzheimer's Association that has a 24/7 helpline. And so, resources go from being right in someone's neighborhood, like the community health center, or the library that has programming, to, aging service access points that can provide help in the home, to then city-based resources, and then beyond. So,
Perfect.
yeah, depends on what the person is needing.
It depends. It's every reality and needs.
Yeah.
So we are going to share this website, and if you allow us to your information.
Yeah, of course.
In order for our community to reach out to you or someone else to, in order to get more information or resources or tools. So I really believe that how we treat older adults, especially those living with dementia in this case, reflects who we are as a society. But if, I don't know, maybe I don't have any member of my family living with this disease, but sometimes we can find with a neighbor or friend living this reality. What is your recommendation for someone that don't have any idea about this? How to treat them? I ask you because sometimes I feel like we approach this with fear. So maybe we, I don't know, we start doing something that is not respectful, or I don't know. What is one of the simplest recommendation for someone like me that I don't have the opportunity to spend time with these people that suffer in this dementia?
I mean, I think that the best thing to do is to always lead with respect. I think there's nothing to fear about talking to another person. It's really difficult to tell if someone does have dementia or not. So if in the case of, if you do know that your neighbor has it, I mean, you have that knowledge in the back pocket, but really what that is going to change is if that person becomes agitated. It doesn't really change any other part of the conversation. And so, same thing. Hi, how are you? How's your day going? Perhaps they're having some trouble with language, so just giving them some time to process and respond. And, if the conversation's really, like, if they can't express themselves very well, asking close-ended questions like, did you get out for a walk today? It's a yes or no question. They don't have to elaborate. And I guess the most important thing to know is that if you come forward as a compassionate, caring person, that's the feeling they're going to remember. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter what the conversation is, as long as it's coming from a place of being kind and caring, because part of what dementia does is makes people forget. And so if your neighbor may forget this conversation, but they're not going to forget that feeling of saying hi and feeling like you wanted to connect with them.
Yeah, that reminds me, there is a poem that it says that maybe I'm going to forget what you said, or I'm going to forget what you did, but I will never forget what you made me feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, because I think we are living in a moment that empathy, respect, compassion is pretty important. So my last question is, what does a dementia-friendly future looks like for you?
That's a big question. So truly a lot of what I work on, and also maybe the hardest thing to work on, is changing the environment to become more dementia friendly. If we had an environment that was designed more inclusively for people of all ages, abilities, cognitive states, just having the environment safe for that person means that that person can operate and function and stay in that environment for longer. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is an environment where people are safe and can live with dignity. But then, as we've been saying, a whole theme underlying this is less stigma too with the people around them, because people with dementia will decline, but it just means they need a little bit more help as they, go through the journey. Yeah. And so if they have an environment where they're safe and can get that increasing level of help, but then also people around them that are willing to help, because there is no more stigma about what dementia is. There is no stigma about being embarrassed or shamed. Just having a community behind this person that lives with dementia so that they can live with dignity. That's what I envision.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And you said a word, design. I think that we, for example, when we bought a house, we sometimes, when we have the opportunity, we hire a designer because we want to create a special and sacred space for us, for the people that we love. So yeah, I think that the futures look like working together with the city of Boston, with communities, with friends, designing spaces more inclusive for everyone, especially with people with some diseases or aging.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you consider someone who unfortunately has to go to the hospital and is taken out of their home and their neighborhood, it's super disorienting. Whereas if that person was just in their home and their neighborhood, perhaps they forget. Perhaps they walk to their library and forget how they got there. But they also, like, it's so ingrained in them that they can get home. Like, this is how dementia works. Like, someone that has been in their neighborhood for 50 years is better off staying in that neighborhood and is safer in that neighborhood than if they had to relocate or if they end up in the hospital. It is a completely new environment. It's super disorienting. And so most of the time people are safest at home.
Yeah, no, thank you. For me, this conversation is pretty special. Thank you for all your work, for, giving us some practical ideas, but also information and resources that we are going to share, as I said in this video. So if this episode helped you, si este episodio te ayudó, if this conversation was helpful, si esta conversación fue algo útil para ti, queremos pedirles compártelo y también envíenos sus comentarios y preguntas para Corinne o para la ciudad de Boston y de esa forma poder seguir creciendo en desarrollar una comunidad más amigable para todos, pero especialmente para las personas que más lo necesitan. So Corinne, thank you so much again. Do you want to share any other idea or the last, invitation for our audience?
I would just like to say that I'm learning Spanish. However, in Jamaica Plain and East Boston especially, we have Spanish speaking for the Memory Cafe. I can get Spanish speaking translators anywhere that people need them. I have colleagues that are Spanish speaking, so I don't want that to deter anyone from getting help. My last thing that I would say is thanks for listening to our conversation. I hope that if someone feels impacted by dementia or caregiving, that they will reach out. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And just know that there are a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing. And so if you're feeling alone in this, I think La Alianza honestly is a great place to start. Reaching out to people that are trusted members of your network, whether it is a local business owner or it's a neighbor or it's a friend or it's the city of Boston, just telling someone what you're going through is helpful regardless of if it changes the situation at all.
It's true, it's true. Thank you, Corinne, again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Gracias a todos. Nos vemos en el próximo episodio. Hasta luego.